Welcome to the Your Music Industry Podcast.
The podcast that gives you a direct route into the music industry's greatest minds. Your Music Industry is proudly brought to you by the Liverpool Audio Network with your host, Daniel Fisher-Jones.
Welcome to episode number 6 of Your Music Industry. This is one extremely special episode, so get ready for an hour of crazy insight, actionable tips, and a wealth of history of techno. This episode marks 2 key milestones. Firstly, it's a pleasure to be hosting our very first international guest, straight from America. Personally, I aim to have our first international guest within the first 12 to 18 months. To achieve that in a month and a half is simply a dream. Unfortunately, this is the last episode of 2018, but the schedule for 2019 is simply mind-blowing, and I promise we are finishing 2018 with a bang. So before I introduce our first guest of the show, I want to say an absolutely huge thank you to this episode's sponsor. By supporting this podcast, they're supporting your growth as an artist and as an individual. As a creative artist in the world of sound, you need the best tools for the job. Some of those tools will include the likes of VST synths and sound files, aka samples. Splice is the subscription platform for exactly that. With a vast array of over 1 million samples, they cater to every genre and creative spark. Each sample is thoroughly tagged, enabling you to smoothly explore their whole library. Having tags such as the key of the sample, you have the power to explore an array of samples that harmonically resonate with your track. With a filtered search in seconds, you can be finding inspiration and sample files that not only harmonically fit with your track, but are also of extreme high quality. Splice Sounds comes in the form of a monthly subscription, which, for only $7.99 a month, gives you access to this whole sound library. And on top of that, Splice have kindly offered every single listener of this podcast 1 free month. Use the code Liverpool Audio to obtain your free month, or head over to splice.com/Liverpool-audio. As previously mentioned, today we have our very first international guest. This isn't any first international guest either. They are a band of 5 brothers who have sold millions of records worldwide over an almost 30-year career. For today's podcast, we have 2 of those 5 brothers, Lenny and Lawrence. It's an absolute pleasure to introduce you to the second-generation techno artist who kicked off their career by having a debut on none other than Derrick May's Transmat Records in 1990, and in 2000 released their hit, million record selling track, Black Water. Welcome, Octave One. So welcome, Octave One, to the Your Music Industry podcast. Thank you very much for coming along today, and I really can't wait to see your live show tonight at 24 Kitchen Street.
Thanks for having us, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for being a part of it. So, starting in the early 90s with the track I Believe, signed to Derrick May's label as a debut release. How did you actually get to that point with your first release being on one of a legend of techno?
Wow, that's a crazy story. What we were doing, we were, and still are, very close to Anthony Shakir. He was introduced to us by a mutual friend, and Shake, as he's affectionately known by many, was the engineer at Metroplex Studios,
Juan Atkins Studio.
Yeah, and we started renting time from Juan's brother Aaron. When Juan would disappear into Europe, Aaron would start selling time to Juan's studio, and Shake was the engineer. And we did some sessions with Shake, and actually what happened was Shake took some songs that we did to, and I Believe was one of them, the main song actually. He took it to Derrick. Took it to Transmet, actually. And Derrick at the time was overseas in London. I think he was...
they were putting together the second techno compilation, Detroit Techno compilation.
Yeah.
The first one had already been, I think, released maybe 2 years prior. That was introducing Detroit Techno to the world. And it was done on 10 Records, which is affiliate of Virgin Records back then. And they were doing the second one, which was supposed to be for the second generation of techno producers out of Detroit, and we were basically new to all of it. We had just really been introduced to the different labels and stuff, and so we technically weren't fully into the second generation. We were just kind of guys that were doing stuff on our own.
Yeah, kind of hanger-ons.
Yeah.
Not even hanger-ons.
Yeah, we weren't even hanging around.
We just wanted to rent some time and make some tracks.
We happened to be fortunate enough to have rented time in the proper studio, in the right studio, in the right occasion, where our engineer thought that the record that we were working on was good enough for Derrick May to hear. And we had sent Derrick stuff before, and we already know exactly what happens when you send him a tape. He had a big big trash can, but a big basket where all the tapes would go into.
Yeah, exactly.
So we knew it would be very difficult for any of our demos to get heard.
Yeah.
And Shake, who knew Derrick personally, sent our music along with a bunch of other tracks that were already picked for the techno compilation. I want to say it was like Marty Bonds. There was a bunch of tracks that were already destined for the compilation, Jay Denham. And he just threw ours in there. And the story goes is that basically they played it. Neil Rushton, who was also putting together the album, he's from, I think, Birmingham. Neil's from Birmingham. And he heard it, Derrick heard it, and we ended up on the album, and unfortunately, we bumped off another track that was already destined to be on the album. All the tracks had already been chosen. And we have a good friend that we actually knocked off the compilation but
still our good friend.
He's still our good friend.
It was a little touch and go at that time.
Yeah, it was a little touch and go at the time, but it was just things aligned at the proper time.
Yeah, that's it.
It's always difficult to get the ear of a guy who runs, especially a guy like Derrick May, flying all around the world, and just get him to just listen to your demo. And we were fortunate enough to meet the right person who could make Derrick listen to our demo. That was basically it. I mean, it came in. It was put in a package with a bunch of music that they already were going to listen to anyway. It was just a very fortunate series of circumstances that got us on that compilation. And so it was actually released on 10 records first before it was released on Transmet, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so we were very fortunate to be labeled as being the second generation of techno with our first record.
On that first record, what were you using to create it? Was it very drum machine heavy? Was it very synth heavy?
It's actually, mainly drum machine heavy. A lot of 909, 727, and it was just bass line and vocals from that.
Yeah, DX100 bass line and strings from the
U20.
Rolling U20.
U220.
U20 was the keyboard. The 220 is the rack mount.
That's right.
Yeah, it was a piece that at that
Kevin
time,
had just
bought
bought
Kevin
it.
Saunderson. So basically how Techno Corner was set up is like this. There was Juan Atkins' studio was downstairs, which was around one particular corner. And around the other corner, this is all in one corner, was the KMS studios, which is Kevin Mastery Saunderson's studio. And then upstairs was Transmat. And that's what Techno Corner was. And they would actually share gear among the different studios and stuff. And at that time, and now we're very sympathetic to Kevin now. We understand the process of buying stuff when you're on the road and you just have it sitting at the studio and you never get a chance to use it because you're on the road. Because we are in that situation. We've been like that for like the last 10 years. And that was one of those pieces that he had never got a chance to use. He loaned it to Juan, I believe.
Yeah, he gave it to Juan to check out.
Yeah,
he had just bought it. It was brand new.
Brand new.
And he said Juan could check it out in his studio and see if he liked it and stuff. And of course, we were renting Juan's studio. Juan was away,
and it was gear just sitting there.
It was gear just sitting there.
Yeah. So
it was brand new and sounded amazing. So
so we were fortunate enough to be able to use a brand new synthesizer on our first track, and we came in already. Lawrence had already programmed some really good 909 rhythms. And so we had like a full drum song already written, and the rest of it just came together in the studio with the help of Shake. Because Shake was, we were very, very, very fortunate to have not just an engineer, but a co-producer. He was only supposed to just be engineering our track. But he walked us through the process of making a record, and we learned very quickly. But in the process of making a record, he gave us really our first record was an underground hit record. And working with him is the reason why we were able to do that. This is our first time ever in a recording studio. So he walks us through the process and just guided more than just, hitting record on the tape machine or something like that. I mean, he guided that record to the end. And, it's these kind of things are things that just catapulted us from not having to do so many baby steps. Because we were very fortunate also to be able to learn quickly, watching people, and we never really had mentors, which is really kind of really
rare.
Yeah, really very rare. We just kind of learned by just watching people and picking up, but we never really had anyone to kind of go in and just really teach us. We learned a lot of hard knocks in this business. A lot of things could have been avoided, but also we learned from our mistakes, and it helped us tremendously because, you get hit hard enough, not to get hit again, so there are definitely big benefits of having a mentor, but you can also do it without one.
So on the technical aspect, I'd like to explore maybe those challenges and things you've learned from later in the episode. But first, how has your technical setup evolved from that first track to now performing live? Is it similar kind of emulations on hardware, or is it still the same setup?
It's drastically changed. Yeah, our studio setup has changed. Our live setup has changed. Technology has enabled us to do a lot more, but the core way we make records is still the same. Really, technically, we were actually, which is kind of interesting, we were some of the first guys who were really sequencing on a computer. We were using a Commodore 64 back in the day, sequencing. I think Ricky Harden was also doing it at the same time. And I forgot the name of the program, man, but it was like, it was basically a little eight tracks was all you had. And then I don't believe you can only do maybe revolutions of no longer than maybe 8 bars.
Yeah, I think 8.
Yeah, so you had to do it kind of like in a drum machine kind of format. And from those limitations is how we made our first records. As things evolve, of course we got better equipment. In the beginning, we borrowed a lot of equipment. Also, we were... I was actually living in an apartment in Detroit, and next door to me happened to be Marty Bond and Jay Denham were also living over there. So, and in the same building, Marty's brother Brian was living, and then Carl Craig's sister was living in this building.
Yeah.
So it was really kind of, and it was just circumstance. It's not like we looked for this place.
No. You didn't find out until afterwards.
When we actually got in it.
It's like, hey, what you doing here? Well, I live here,
So I had neighbors that were sympathetic to me making noise, and I was sympathetic to them making noise. Although I had a job to go to, and I had to get up early in the morning. But we would share equipment. We learned from each other, which was cool. We were all basically just learning at the same time. Yeah. And we could knock ideas against each other and figure things out. And as we start buying more equipment, we start getting our own setup, our own, independent setup. Lots of used stuff. Rarely bought anything new. Yeah. It was just too expensive.
Yeah, none of us could afford to get new gear then.
And we would buy things that were discarded by a traditional musician. Everybody knows the story pretty much of the TB303, where nobody could really get a good sound until DJ Pierre and those cats decided to figure out exactly what to do with this thing. And they did something that was not traditionally what the piece of gear was made to be. And that's kind of how everything we did was like that. I mean, we would go into pawn shops where people would sell their old gear and try to find something interesting that maybe nobody else had. Never having any manuals, and there was no internet or Google where you could just go and find the manual. So you had to figure out.
You had to figure that out.
On your own. On your own. And then sometimes, even when you got a manual, we finally got a manual for the TR-909, it was translated from Japanese into English. And it was positively the worst manual ever created.
Yeah.
A lot of these things kind of made us better because we had to find our own way of doing things and our own methods.
And you had to talk to people.
Yeah.
Say, hey, guy, did you figure out how to get this pattern and switch to that? And
yeah. And you had to share information that way.
Share information.
Where, they would give you a little bit. They wouldn't give you everything.
Yeah. Keep the top secrets.
Yeah, it's like, man, how you getting that bass line? I'm doing something really interesting. So, and it made you develop your own sound also. Yeah, it really made you develop your own sound. So, as our setup got better and better, like now, we still, of course, like anyone else setup, everything is pretty much focused around a sequencer. But I myself use an MPC. I've used many different versions of it. A lot of us, it's 5 brothers actually. We'll just make that clear. It's 5 of us that actually make music. So myself and Lawrence tour, and we have 3 younger brothers that we also produce music with. So we all have different types of setups. And like Lawrence, he'll sequence maybe in Pro Tools and stuff like that. Because when we sequence, we're not using very, Logic is very deep when it comes into sequencing. Really, we just want something that plays back where we play it. Yeah.
Quick and fast.
Yeah, we play the melody in. We don't really do a lot of computer tricks to develop things. We just need something that's a tape machine. That's kind of how we were developed because we didn't know how. In fact, a lot of the stuff didn't exist. A lot of the things that are happening now didn't exist. If you had to play a chord, you had to play a chord. You couldn't get MIDI that was already, already a chord. You had to play it. So really, our setup is just basically built around a tape machine type of setup where our sequencers are like that. Even the MPC is like that, where you can just play it in. You can beat something in. So it's dependent a lot on us as humans to really generate what's going to happen, as opposed to doing a lot of things that the computer can only do. A lot of times we didn't even know how people were doing things. We were listening to things as simple, like we didn't even know what a delay was. Yeah. So we thought that people were playing it like ding, 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 ding. So we would play it like that. We would play it like that. So that's how we learned how to play. Yeah, literally. Even things like the simplest things like compressors. Man, maybe our first 5-10 records didn't even have compressors on them. We didn't know what compressor was. Yeah. So when we mastered a record, we'd go to our local master who was used to dealing with poorly engineered tracks, and he knew how to make our poorly engineered tracks sound like real, a proper recorded record. A lot of these mistakes, people are trying to replicate the early sounds. Yeah. And the early sounds, if you want to replicate them, you have to throw a lot of things out the window of the knowledge that because we didn't have this knowledge. Yeah, we were just making mistakes. And it gave us a style. Even when we sampled the first record, we were copying the words off of records, man, and off of actual vocal. We were chopping up samples, but we couldn't figure out how to get the attack right. So we were just chopping the words.
So we would just play it.
Yeah, we just play it.
It turned into a song.
Yeah. So it would be just pieces of words. A lot of things were born from mistakes and errors. A lot. Basically, not understanding or not knowing how to operate the equipment, or just couldn't figure it out. And this was probably some of our most creative music, because we didn't have the knowledge to work the equipment correctly.
Wow. So you touched on something previously which I found fascinating. So you're a band of 5 brothers. How does that actually work with kind of creativity? You're all very solo and then you come together and show each other things, or do you work in the studio together? How does that work collectively?
There's many variations. There's no set way. Sometimes one brother might start a bass line, another brother might say, hey man, I like that bass. Let me add this to it, and somebody else might add something else to it. There is no variation. We don't have a start point. Hey, you're the drum guy, you're the bass guy, you're the keyboard guy. We all do different things, and we all do the same thing at the same time as well. And we just we all like kind of a certain type of quality, no matter what the style might be. And we just kind of all, hey, if something doesn't work, we kind of agree it doesn't work. You know, sometimes it's hard to swallow that you just played this bass line for the last 4 days that you really love, and your brother says it's just not working, you know. So, but there is no real set way. We all just kind of come together and it just gels. A lot of times we might just have a vibe session. We might, especially by 3 of us now live in Atlanta and 2 still live in Detroit, we might not have seen each other in a while, and we just come together and we just have a straight up jam session, and whatever happens, man, you know. And sometimes that jam session it might be on the form of sending MIDI tracks across to your brother in Detroit, and he's sending some stuff back to you in Atlanta or London or Germany, wherever we might be, and we just start playing with it from there. So it just depends. There's no start point. There's no set guide. There's no solid rule. The rules change as we go along, and they change constantly at the same time.
So on the approach to making music, do you have any intention when you're going into the studio other than to make music? Do you know you're going to make something that is going to turn the club to an absolute dance capital? Or is it more you just sit in the studio and just play with the synths and drum machines?
Actually, with both.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's strictly just sitting there, just being creative. And sometimes, you know, especially like in the case of our live sets, we know that we want to freshen. We want to all right, we just want to get rid of all the material that we're playing now, and we want to play some new stuff. And we will consciously go in. And the thing about it is that we're always making music. And usually when we're making the templates for music, it's for no purpose, for just the purpose of making music.
Yeah.
And then when we might have, okay, now we want to do a project. Let's start listening to what we have, the starting pieces, and start developing these starting pieces into being what we want it to be. So it's like, all right, we want a club stomper. I'm looking for a funky bass line. Let me just start listening to all the different things that myself, Lawrence, or our brothers have done, and or stuff that we've done collectively. And we say, oh, wait, this right here, okay, now I can see how to finish this.
Yeah, that's exactly.
You know, and that's usually what happens is now I know how to finish this. So normally when we come together, we do not finish music. We start and make a lot of ideas. It's like, okay, this is cool. Okay, no, let's move on to something else. Move on to something else. And it's like we develop a lot of beginning ideas. And then when Lawrence and I decide, all right, well, you know, we got some time. Let's stop and work on a record. You know, because we know we're working on a record for next year. We don't have to start from the beginning. We have a lot of things that can give us a direction as to where we want to take things. So it's our own sample pack. It's our own MIDI files. It's us. We just keep developing things. Even making sounds and synthesizers, we might just sit there for days and just make sounds. Might not make any tracks out of it. We'll just sit there and just make sounds. But these things are being used later.
Yeah.
For when we feel creative enough to finish records.
You know, we might even start some things for our live show that we just play in a live show.
Yeah.
It might be some stuff. Hey man,
it's a lot of stuff.
And we'll start it and keep adding to it until it becomes a song. Then we might have a brother that listen to it, and he might in the studio decide he want to add something else to it or take something away from it. But a lot of times it's stuff that is started for the live show or at the live show, we kind of already know it works. So, because we've been playing it and crowds have been moving to it. So we kind of know at that point it's a people mover for sure.
In many cases, it might never even make a record.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Yeah, it's like
all the time.
Yeah, it could be something that we play in a live show for a year or so and then say, all right, I'm tired of this. Let's meet something else. And it never actually makes an official release. And it's actually kind of bad because you get people asking what this track is and they're trying to Shazam it and
track ID.
Yeah, and trying to figure out what is this?
5347. What is this song?
Yeah, exactly. And it has no title or whatever. It might actually have a title, but it never came out.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that happens. Which is cool for us because we have a very unique live experience, but it's bad because sometimes we might play, small venues in the city that only hold a couple hundred people, and if you didn't come to that party, you'll never really get to hear that song. You'll hear a little piece of it on the internet maybe, but somebody's phone holding it up. But that's about it. But
and on top of that, we play things kind of very spontaneously, so we might not be able to replicate anything that we've done anyway because it's so spontaneous.
The parts we added, stuff we've done, then it's never going to sound the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, that's really special. So on the topic of live sessions, within electronic music, there's always been the DJ. For someone who has never even maybe been to a live electronic show, could you define what the benefits are for either the audience or the artist of actually doing a live set? Maybe in terms of the creativity, maybe in terms of the crowd interaction?
Well, actually, probably pretty much how we kind of started down talking about spontaneity and improvising. A lot of times for us, that a DJ so much maybe not be able to do because he's locked to 2 tracks and he's locked to a certain song that's already developed. We can play according to whatever the audience gives us. So say we drop out the kick and we might drop a bass line or punch up and add a keyboard line. Those are things that we spontaneously can do that we get immediate feedback from. And we can play with and develop and move there's no limitations to what we can do. We have 32 tracks to play with compared to where a DJ might have 2 tracks per song, a left and a right, so we got hats, we got claps, we got kicks, snares. Anything there is endless possibilities on what we can do as far as an improv and to be spontaneous about it.
Yeah, and even as from the artist perspective, there's nothing like getting the reaction from playing your own music.
Yeah.
Everything we play is ours.
Yeah.
And win or lose, it's by the beats that we make, and it just develops a whole nother kind of energy from us. I know certain DJs that just love particular records and it just make them almost cry, but we kind of feel that it's like we as getting reactions from music that you've made is just nothing like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's really special. After all, it's about the music. So
yeah.
So what have you learned so far from episode 6 of Your Music Industry? Let us know on social media with #YourMusicIndustry. Before we get back to the conversation with Octave One, I want to thank our sponsor. From sample files to MIDI patterns to access to VSTs, Splice is for you. Use code Liverpool Audio to gain your free month today, or head over to splice.com/Liverpool-audio to get your free month on the platform. So, 430 West Records, a huge part of yourselves and your brother's journey. Is there any reason why you initially started up the record label, or what it is today? How has that journey developed from start to 2018?
Yeah, the initial reason we started the label is, of course, we did our first release on Transmat, and there are 3 guys producing at the time, myself, my brother Lenny, and my brother Linnell, and you got 3 producers that not only make tracks together, they produce also by themselves, and we were stacking up music. We were really stacking up music. It was new to us, and it was fun, as it still is fun now, and the productions were just stacking up. And Transmat has always been a kind of label. It's quite artsy, and it doesn't
put out a lot of records.
No, it doesn't put out a lot of records. It's very choice records, and we just wanted to have a bigger arena to put our music out to when we felt like putting it out.
Yeah, we didn't want to wait for 1 record a year.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, Transmat was putting about
like one or 2 records a year.
1 or 2 records out a year.
And with 3 guys making music, it was not going to work.
It's not going to work.
So. And we didn't have the desire to look for other record labels to put our stuff out.
Yeah,
we just wanted to basically be our own filter.
Yeah,
and our own terms.
then once we decided to do 430 West, we started talking to other producers, and they were the same way. They had music that they were accumulating, and it just wasn't enough arenas for us to go into as far as other labels in the city. So once we started, everybody, and we got so many tapes and people just hanging out in the studio.
So all of our friends, people,
everybody. 430 West 8 Mile was just everybody was there all the time.
You name the person, and more than likely they came through our studio.
I can't think of who hasn't been through the studio, including R&B people. I mean, we've had R&B cats that went on to be legends that would come down, hey man, I got some stuff, and it's just like, dude, it's not my style of music. I love it. You're gonna be a big star, but it's nothing I can do with that, you know.
We were just having a conversation about I think maybe Resident Advisor, maybe a month or so ago, had did a Drexciya documentary, and we were talking about, you know, when James and Girl came to the studio and they first played this stuff before they were Drexciya, and we remember them from way back then, how it was crazy stuff then. When they were just friends and they weren't recording together. We ended up dropping a lot of our friends' stuff too. Terrence Parker and Jay Denham and man, we were just
Eddie Folks, a bunch of people.
Yeah, we never intended to be a full-fledged record label, but at a certain point, that's really what we developed in being. You know, because people just kept bringing us stuff, and at that time, it was pretty unheard of for you to be able to start your own record label outside of what was already established. So it wasn't like now where basically if you can put a record on the internet, you have a record label. The resources were very guarded then. It was difficult to afford to be able to press a record. It was difficult to understand the process of even making the mastering and everything else of making a record.
Finding the distributors.
Distributors were difficult.
Paid.
Yeah, getting paid. These were all things that were filters where you better really believe in whatever you're about to release, because it's going to be a hard journey to get that record from A to Z.
So the quality control was a lot more intense too. You know, unfortunately, by being so digital, such a digital world now, you know, you make it and you put it out, but sometimes the QC is not there. And that's what putting out vinyl did for us, because that was your money, you know, and you could press it. You might be able to afford to press it, but you better be able to sell it as well. So
because that record could be the end of your company.
Exactly.
One record not selling and you not getting paid for one record could be the end of you being able to put out the next record.
Exactly.
And
that's generally how it was.
It was very, very hand to mouth. And you better really like what you were releasing. Because if you didn't put all your faith into it and put all your due diligence and making it the best record you could, even if you do all that, there was no guarantee that record was actually going to be received well.
Exactly.
At the time you release it, or at any time. So, I mean, it was a lot more risky to have a record label then. And once again, we didn't have any mentors to really walk us through it, so we would get pieces from people, piece from here, piece from there. How do you make a physical record label itself, the piece of paper that goes on the record?
Exactly.
Stuff like that.
Who designed your label? Can we get that guy to design a typeset? Whatever it was, man.
Once again, there was no Google. So
we were Google.
So you had to physically learn it from another person. And there was no books about it either, where you can just here's all the great pressing plants and here's the guy, the master, none of that stuff. So, all these things you had to learn, and you appreciated it also, because it was just a hard journey just getting it to the point where you can put a record out. And this was, it's definitely, we became a record label whether we wanted to be one or not.
So, on the tracks that have been received well, Blackwater, what is the story behind that track?
That's a long story.
We got time.
Let's give the abridged version. As we were constantly making records, it started off first the three older brothers, myself, Lawrence, and Lionel, and as things progressed, our little brothers got older, and they were...
Don't call them little, younger.
They were young. Well, they were little then. They were little.
At that time.
At that time, they were definitely little. And they wanted to make music too. And so whenever we weren't in the studio, they were in our studio
messing with our equipment.
Messing with our equipment, messing stuff up. And messing with mixes and stuff we have on the mixer. Yeah. So we just ended up making them their own workstations, got some pieces here and there, and started teaching them how to do things. We were in the studio working on a remix with someone, I think maybe Underground Resistance remix or something. And we were showing our youngest brother, Lauren, about our appreciators, about arts, and about different things, about how we approach certain things. And basically gave him his lesson, and then we went to the studio and kept working. And he came and grabbed us and said, hey, is this what you were talking about? And basically what he played us was the basics for what is Black Water today. It's the basic melody. Like, yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Like, keep that.
So we kept that, and we stopped what we were doing, came out to his little studio.
Start playing in his studio.
Dragged the 909 out to his studio and dragged other pieces out to his little studio. And we worked on what he started, which is probably the most memorable melody that ever came through the Burton Brothers, at least, you know. And it was a great process. I mean, and at that point we were being unselfish, but also selfish. We were being unselfish because we were teaching them, but we were being selfish because we didn't want them in our studio. So, so a little bit of both. But, and that's actually what kind of we've learned along the lines, is that you definitely have to keep giving. It's the only way for you to grow also. Yeah. You can't, like, I got this information and
hoard it.
Yeah. And
I'm a hoard this
keep it all.
Yeah.
You don't have to give up everything.
No.
But, you know, you have to share the knowledge, because and it will come back to you. I mean, from that, you know, just you know, helping our little brother, I mean, it's like it completely changed the trajectory of our careers. Completely changed it. And it wouldn't have happened if we weren't trying to, you know, show them and help them and actually be their mentors that we never had. I mean, so that record just came together magically, which was, you know, and sometimes we have tracks that are like that too, where everybody just jumps on. You're like, oh man, that's really good what you just did. And sometimes it might be a Congo, it could be anything that just inspires everybody. So that definitely happens.
Then that record is also a two-phase record. It started that way. It was all synthesizers. And it kept selling, and kept selling. It wouldn't stop selling. So we had the opportunity to take that and turn that into a remix project. And we got with our manager at the time, and Neil Rushton, who's from Birmingham.
Neil came back into the scene.
Yeah, Neil came back into the scene. We dragged him back into the scene.
Yeah, back into our lives again. Yeah. And, from our beginning record,
and he said, listen, I got this label we can take it to. We took it to that label, and they said, listen, we'll give you a video budget. And Neil had the forethought to forego the video budget and take that money and let's go in the studio. And because we always talked about wanting to do more to the project. And he said, listen, this is the opportunity for you to do the project completely the way you want to do it. What do you want to do? And we said, okay, we want to add vocals. We want to, and he suggested, I think we came up with the percussion player, and I think he suggested the live strings. And so we just went about going ahead and adding the other elements to that project to make it complete for us. And we initially didn't set out to do vocals, even though we had thought about it. But we had Ann Saunderson came into our studio. We were working on some more music. And we were putting some tracks together for Ann on a CD so she could go home and start writing to. And we were in the studio just messing around with the DJ decks as we were recording the other pieces. And we played Black Water, which was in demo form at the time. And she said, what's that? It was not demo, it was promo. I don't think we did the official release. It's a white label. And she said, what's that? And we were just like, hey, this is a cut. It's coming out on the next 12-inch. And she was like, I want that. Put that on a CD as well. And actually, that's the song that she really leaned on and started writing to. And literally what would happen, she would drive. They lived about an hour, 20 minutes or something from Detroit at that time. She would drive. She would call us. What do you think about this? she would drive somewhere, call us, what do you think about that? And she kept developing the song as literally as she was driving home. And some of the things we kept, some of the things we said, I'm really not feeling that part of it. But by the time she got home, she pretty much had the structure of what the chorus was going to be. And called us in the morning and said, "Here, let me sing you this song, complete it." And we're just like, "Okay, that's cool. Let's come back in the studio and let's start working on it." And we added the vocals to it before we added the strings. And later on, we had the opportunity to work with the Urban Soul Orchestra
in London, yeah.
In London.
Yeah, so I mean, we had another perfect storm for this record.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I mean, just like our first record. I mean, we had a really good bass track.
Yeah.
It was, once again, we met up with Neil Rushton again, and we had the right manager at the right time because he was able to take a video budget and develop it into a music budget.
Yeah.
We took what we knew was a really good record and made it a classic record by being able to work with a 18-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
We mixed it in London at Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is all things that were born in our mom's basement.
Yeah.
Sitting there, that's where our studio was, and that's where we set the other little studio. We had moved from 430 West 8 Mile. We moved into and built up our mom's basement, so we just basically we were just another track that the perfect storm. We were excited when we heard our youngest brother's first melody, and from that everything just built. And in fact, we didn't even know that the record itself was really so popular. We were doing a lot of other things, and we dropped the white label, and we had sent it to Jeff Mills and all the other friends we had. And Jeff contacted us. He actually physically called us and said, "Man, you guys got a hit record, man." And we were like, well, at the time we were working with Underground Resistance on the DJ Rolando Jaguar project. And we thought he was talking about that. We like, yeah, we know Jaguar's a hit. He said, no, your record is a hit. He said, Blackwater's a hit. I was like, what you mean it's a hit? And we had not been paying attention. Everybody was playing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he called and told us.
He said, stop what you're doing and focus in on that record.
And that's the reason why we ended up bringing Neil Rushton in.
Yeah.
Is because, all right, so we need some help.
Yeah.
We
exhausted as far as where we're going.
Our resources were exhausted.
Yeah.
And we're so happy that we actually did that because, and once again, it's this business. And a lot of people discount the other people that work around this business and think that musicians are the most important thing. There are other people, when you bring that will believe in you, that you need. People discount press people, they discount all these other people, booking agents and everything else, and say these are the evil people of the business. And say no. You find people that really believe in your music and what you do. You need this help.
You need that team.
You gotta build
it. It's all about a team.
It is a team. Yeah.
People might look like they do it individually, but believe that.
Yeah.
I mean, but behind any individual, there is a team of people down to the makeup artist that are splashing the makeup on that dude as before he comes on camera. It's a team of people. There is a team. You got to build a solid team. Anytime we used to work with artists on our different labels, we would kind of preach it over and over because they kind of felt like, hey, I'm doing this. No, there is a team of people behind you making it happen for you because they believe in it just as much as you believe in it as well. So that's what it's about. And a lot of people don't understand that. There is a team of people behind anybody's success.
We learned that from our first record, from working with Anthony Shakir, to having he was not only the right engineer, the right producer, but he helped to get us to the next level. It's so many people that are important to your career, and so many young artists really think that they're the end all and be all, and they're going to figure this all out and do it themselves, and I'll book myself and I'll do this, and It's very important to find the right people that believe in what you're doing. Not just people who just want to take your money or anything like that. When you find people that believe in your music and what your vision is and really want to help you to achieve your vision, those are the people that you need. And those, especially when they're qualified, when they're really qualified people. I mean, it's so important to have people that are on the same page that you're on and they want to push what you want to push. I mean, we're talking on your podcast because our press agent is like, that's a really good podcast. You need to talk. We get all kinds of requests. We can't know everything. We can't know. We don't know if this is important. We're not from this place, so we need people to help us to navigate this industry.
Yeah. And like any team, it's like almost looking at a baseball team. If I'm a star batter, okay, or a star pitcher, it allows me to focus on being a star pitcher, not have to focus on being a star outfielder or cover first base. I mean, let everybody be the pro that they are in the particular position in which they take. And it allows you to focus on being that star musician, that star artist, and that's what a lot of people don't realize. You just can't do it all. You want to do it all, but certain things are going to fall to the wayside, and you're not going to do them well.
You can't be the expert at that.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, and if you are the expert at going to the right, well, the left is going to fall off. If you're the expert at going to the left, the right is going to fall off. So let those people handle those positions that are really good, and that's their profession, is to take care of the right while you take care of the left.
Yeah. Guide everything.
Guide
it and let people do their jobs.
Yeah.
And you concentrate on being the musician, performer, or whatever you think is the most important part of what you want to do.
Wow, that was really heartfelt. I totally agree with that as well, the whole team. So have you got any tips for people on how to maybe find their team?
Come slowly over time.
Yeah, it's going to come very slowly.
Yeah, and you're going to try people out. And a lot of it, too, is kind of feeling people out, because sometimes that person might not have developed and became that strong, say, manager of media or your merchandise person, which we're always in search of right now. But I mean, you allow them to develop like you're allowing yourself to develop as an artist. Sometimes you have to really kind of see people's strengths, because that young lady over there might not be strong at doing this, but you say, wait a minute, she does this other thing really well, and she hasn't even focused in on that. Maybe I can push her to go in that arena a little bit more. Because we have people that we worked with that might not have been in that position when we all started together, but they've turned out to be very strong people in the position in which they are in now. And I don't want to give them away, but because I don't want to put them out there like that. But we've urged them. We could see there are certain talents that they had naturally, and you kind of push each other for those to do that talent. Some people, after you get into a certain status, then you can you start to attract other people, well qualified managers or well qualified agents who have been in the industry for years. But some, like I say, you have to just work with them and let them, as you're becoming a strong artist, they're becoming a strong media person.
So some people are going to grow with you. You might all start at the same position. I mean, because we've actually been fortunate enough to work with a lot of really talented people that we've grown together. As we became better musicians and better performers, and they became better at their jobs. We also have found that as we grew, there are people who are already great at their jobs who will just come to you. And it's like, look, and if they can explain to you or deal with your vision, and that's the thing about this, is that, you shouldn't become part of a machine that was already created and they just throw you in and you're just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's important that your vision on where you want to take things as an artist, that has to be the paramount thing with everybody that's involved in what they do. Everyone, and they should all be going towards the same goal. And it shouldn't just be, well, okay, let me just pay this person and they'll just handle it. No, you still have to guide everyone and make sure that everyone is still going towards the same goal. It's very easy to get caught up in just letting people just do things and you don't really know what they're doing.
They strip your identity.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to put you immediately into this wheel that is already developed. So they're like, okay, I know these cogs work together. okay, we're gonna get rid of all the makeup that you're wearing, and now you're gonna wear afro and braid it, and and it's like they just want to put you into this machine, but you got to find those persons that believe in the machine that you already have existing and know how to take it and exploit it and expand on that, what you already have, the vision in which you already have developed, and not
you will need other people.
Yeah, you will.
Believe
absolutely.
me, you absolutely 100% will need other people.
Yeah.
But you need people that are going to actually help you to actually guide your vision and where you want your vision to go to, and not their own agendas. And that's going to be the hardest thing, is to pretty much, you're going to go through a lot of folks. We have.
Yeah.
But we've been doing this a long time. And some people have gone on to do other things, which we're very proud of. A lot of people that we've worked with have, really great careers, doing other things, journalists, people working really good in the tech industry that started with us.
Attorneys.
Yeah, that started with us.
Man.
So, we also are very conscious of helping them with their vision as they're helping us with ours. So it's all a process. And it's going to be very, very rare that someone stays with you your entire career, especially you do as long as we've been doing it. You just have to, you grow together. At some point you might grow apart, but you're always helping each other. I got, friends that work at Google that I can call, that I just, we were just friends for years, that we just work together. And that's also other things too, is that we work together. People never work for you. You work together. Yeah. You're not some dictator.
Yeah.
You're working.
Together.
Yeah, you're working together.
Yeah.
It is a team.
Yeah.
And you should all be helping each other. And that's also very important too. That you're not the center of the universe. You have to understand the feelings and the needs of people that work with you.
We spoke a lot about building a team and growing the people around you. But growing yourself, especially on tour, can be quite toxic with a lot of drugs, alcohol. And I see you walked into the podcast with a tangerine. So how do you stay healthy on the road?
It's difficult, man. Yeah, I mean, it's actually, I think as you get better, even better hotels with gyms to help. Yeah. I mean, but as we started, we were sleeping at people's houses. Yeah. I mean, so it's but it's also, you have to be very aware of trying to get sleep when you can. Yeah. I mean,
Lenny's better at it than me. He doesn't drink alcohol. So
I don't drink alcohol.
He can wake up pretty good and go like, "Hey, man, you got to get up." And I'm like, "Really?" But I mean, it's you want to stay healthy. First you got to have a healthy mindset. So we don't try to indulge in a lot of things that might take you out of focusing in on what your journey is, what your agenda is to
why
do.
you started doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And you have to remember that all these other things that come along with it, all the vices that come with it, are not the reason. I mean, it shouldn't have been the reason why you started doing what you're doing.
And our goal is to, even when we come into a city, our purpose, we look at what our main purpose is. Our main purpose first is to perform and to give a good performance. So whatever we got, whatever we got to do to give that great performance. It might be a site we always wanted to see, or a museum, or whatever it might be. We got to sleep first.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's our focus. So we well rested, so we can do the best we possibly can do, even though we may or may not come this way again.
Yeah, we might never come to a city again. But our goal is not to be tourists when we get to that city.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why we're there is because we want to really play our music the best we possibly can.
We want to jam out. We want you to just be, your mind to be blown when you see what's going on, and you got to be rested to be able to do that. I can't be high to do that. I can't be drunk and do that. If I'm any of these things, I feel that I have done it, but I might not outwardly. That's on the inside. Outwardly, I might not have giving you my best. Been
120%, 130%.
Yeah, so I want to give you my best.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, when you try not to get lost in all the extra stuff that comes along with being able to travel the world and have people appreciate your music. You want to understand that the reason why you're there is because you can play music, because you're there for playing music.
Yeah.
And
that's first and foremost.
and everything else is just fringe benefits. I mean, the great restaurants and whatever else comes with it. But you're not there. You're not there as a foodie. And if you happen to be able to develop that, that's fine. But and it's really it's concentrating on what you're going to need, and you're going to need to stay healthy. Yeah. You're going to need to rest. You can't say it enough. Yeah. Being a DJ, being a performer, any of these things, our schedules are crazy. And honestly, we've had times where we walk off a stage at 4:30 in the morning. When we're finally finished breaking the gear down, our tour manager helps us put all the stuff together. We might get out of a place at 7. We might be going to an airport, straight to an airport, and we might take 2 flights, a long car ride. And by the time we get to the next city, we have to go to sound check. We haven't slept. We haven't done any of these things. So when we do get a chance to get some sleep, we sleep. Yeah. We're not, a lot of times we have to forego, hanging out with other artist dinners, hanging out with our friends and stuff, because we have to sleep before a show.
See, and it's different for us. And the reason we keep pushing the sleep factor, or not even so much sleep, but just be well rested. Because the difference for us in a DJ is, well, we have basically almost 3 performances. We have a setup sound check, we have the actual performance, and we have a tear down. So all of these things, we're at our stations 3 times. Yeah. And a DJ might even never see the stage until it's time for him to play. So we're in a city, and we just, we got to do all these things. And that's if everything is going good. Yeah. If the sound check went terrible, the stage setup isn't right, the monitors, some piece of equipment broke that has to be soldered before the actual performance, and we got to run back before the performance.
If all the gear made it.
There are times the gear don't make it. Yeah. We're trying to borrow gear from every part of the city we can.
While we're before the show.
And learn the gear that we borrow. That's a big thing too. So it's different for us. I mean, we have a lot of factors. Just that the average DJ that shows up with the vinyl or USB stick he just doesn't have. I mean, so we can't emphasize it enough to be rested. Plus, we give a very physical show. I mean, it's a very physical, we're improving. I mean, Lenny can't be exhausted and I'm just sharp because we're not going to improv together. I mean, good, so it has to be, we have to run as a team too because our legs are tied together. So you got to be rested to do that. You got to be rested to do that,
Okay. So before my final question, I've got one more. Okay. And this could be on an international level or maybe locally. Okay. So over the next, say, 5 years, what change would you like to see in the music industry? And it could be, you could both have different views on it.
Honestly, for me, I would like to see, and it's wishful thinking, and I know it's not going to return. I would like to see the time when people actually purchase music again. And the reason I say that in the actual purchase, because music now is traded. And just to have, they'll be like, we'll get to people, I got your entire catalog. And it's like, okay, half of these songs never came out. And I know you can only get them, they've ripped them from someplace, but people don't really realize that when you're doing that you're actually, well, all the synths that I bought to make that song, I can't receive anything from it, so I can buy more synths. They don't really realize, even though they have a love for it sometimes, but then a lot of times they're just collecting it.
Just collecting it. They're not cherishing it.
Yeah, they're not.
I mean, used to you buy a record, you cherished it, man. I mean, you read the sleeve, you read everything, you read
all the producers. I read the producers. Man. I read who the engineer was. And if it was a good record when I was DJing, I bought 2 copies. I mean, because I had to have 2 copies because you got to catch that little break and you got to play with that break back and forth, And so, I mean, those are the things. But it meant so much to us to have that physical piece because you studied that physical piece. I mean, and I think the digital realm made it so a wider group of people could find out about you, but it's also so much more impersonal. because I don't feel as close to certain artists like I was coming up maybe with Prince or Parliament Funkadelic. You know, I mean, I read who's Bernie Worrell. Wait a minute, that's the keyboardist? That's who's doing all I mean, that is the stuff that excited me. You know, that's what drove me to want to get into music, to appreciate music even more, to find out, okay, he was on this record, and maybe Felipe Wynn, who came from the Four Tops or whatever, might have did a record with them. And those were things that that took me there. I mean, that was fascinating to me to see and hear these kind of things. And I think it's just, for me now, it's different, man. It's just, okay, there's some tracks. It's cool. And they might not, in 2 years down the line, I might not even care about these same tracks again, you know. And to have those classics that jump out at you that don't disappear, you found out a lot about those classics too. And there are guys still making classics, you know. It's just the selling of or the exploitation of the classics are different, you know, and people's appreciation for that. If you get a lot of anything, well, do you appreciate any of it at all, or is it just, I just got a lot of anything until I get a next lot of anything, or are there rare gems in there that you say, this is my rare gem, you know? So I think, you know, you lose that quality control by not having the physical piece. And you're just kind of bombarded with a lot of things that you got to go through. And people just, hey, I my disc is filled up. I have everything, you know. I got a huge cloud presence because I got all of this music on, you know. And it's just stuff, man. And you got to make it more personal.
So what does the future hold for Octave One, and where can people find you online?
Well, we are always working on new music, always touring. We have a new project that we're coming out with next year that we'll be finishing. We're finally finishing up in January, and we debuted it actually already in Rome this past October. We're returning to one of our old pseudonyms, Never on Sunday, when we were doing a bit more down tempo. So we wanted to stretch ourselves a bit more artistically again, and we're working on a down tempo project with a new vocalist, and I'm very, very excited. It's just taking a long time because we have this vision of what the music's supposed to sound like, and we're finally getting it to where we want it to be. Had a great time performing in Rome, so we think we're going to perform some more next year, some special shows. And we actually have a record that we've been working on for a while for just ourselves as Octave One, new single that, once again, we're taking a bit of time off in January to hit the studio. It's always fun to try to find the next direction where you want to take your band and where you want to take your sound. And it took us a year of knocking about different ideas in the live set to figure out, okay, this is where we want to go. This is where we're going to go. So we got something we think is very interesting. Hopefully other people find this interesting. So that's really what we're going to be doing, and we'll be back to touring again. Starting this February, we'll be back once again hitting the road and playing the music that we love.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Lenny and Lawrence.
Thank you.
I look forward to your gig tonight, and I hope you can get some sleep before sound.
There you go. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you very much. Well, Octave One have certainly ended Your Music Industry 2018 with an absolute bang, and they've most definitely set a new standard moving into 2018, which I'm really excited about. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Your Music Industry episode number 6. Make sure you check out any of our past episodes, as this episode is only the tip of the iceberg. And my final thanks for today is to our sponsors, Splice. They are so supportive with the sponsorship and everything they do, so make sure you check out their platform to get your free month today with code LiverpoolAudio, or head over to splice.com/Liverpool-audio. Until 2019, I hope you have a superb Christmas and New Year. I'm personally off to Iceland to see Kiasmos and John Hopkins on New Year's Eve. What are your plans? Make sure you let me know on social media. See you all in January, party well and stay safe.